Hey everyone, welcome to or welcome back to One Man and One Woman, the podcast. I am one half of your co hosts, Tara Michelle.
And I am Flan.
Tonight we're going to be talking about something that Flan has brought up multiple times. When he says, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you say people should care more about character than reputation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so give us a breakdown of each. What does character mean versus what reputation means?
Uh, your reputation is how other people perceive you, how the world perceives you, what the world expects from you. You know what energy, I guess, goes with your name when other people hear it. Your character is who you are. Your character is who you are, whether somebody can see it or not, whether anybody is aware of it. That is your true self. And I think a lot of times we spend a lot of energy worrying about our reputation, worrying about how other people see us, not wanting our reputation to be damaged, not wanting, wanting to be seen in a certain light. And these were things I had to come face to face with when I started the recovery process. Like, do I want to be a good father or do I want to be seen as a good father? Because the actions for both of those things are not necessarily the same. I can do things that make me look like a good dad, and everybody will say I'm a good dad, but I'm not really there or present. I'm just there for the photo op. Or I could be the best dad in the world and I just don't take pictures and nobody know which one matters more to me, you know. And so yeah, I see a lot today where I think people stress over their reputation. And the one thing I learned about reputation is that you could work your whole life trying to make people see you a certain way. And if they've decided who they want you to be, that's who they want you to be. And it's, spinning your wheels. So yeah, it's a huge part of my everyday life. Trying to maintain the idea of worrying more about who I actually am than who somebody thinks I am.
That's commendable. And I'm going to attack reputation first simply because I used to always, I have this thing with my kids, like something crazy will happen or anything will happen. I go, wait a minute, hold up. I got a reputation to uphold. You know what I'm saying? And I think reputation does matter. Now, I do think that your character is the most important betwixt the two. I will agree with that 100% because who you are is how you're going to treat people, how you're going to influence people, how you're going to raise your kids, like the type of person that you are, whether you're a person who does the right thing because it's the right thing to do, or you're doing it for clout, or because you expect something back in return, or whatever other egregious, reason you would have for doing the right thing. But a reputation is also important. You can be destroyed and lose everything based on your reputation, especially when we're talking about public opinion these days. We're seeing it with celebrities. We've seen it with a lot of people. If enough people believe a lie, I think Charlemagne the guy from the Breakfast Club always says, "What good is the truth?" Or something like that. Or who's going to believe the truth when the lie is so much more fun or so much more, flamboyant or out there. People love a train wreck. People love to destroy people and see them hurting. So depending on your line of work, even if you're a school teacher, all it takes is for one person to say, "Up, she had a student in her class, after class, and nothing happened." But if somebody says it, you could lose your job, you could be under investigation. So reputations mean a lot. And I think they both matter equally. I do believe that you should be a good person and that your character is ultimately the most important for you regarding people who actually know you. But for the outside world who may come into contact with you because of business, your job, your position with their children, your position within the company where they work, your reputation better be outstanding too. You could be looked over for a promotion because of your reputation. You could be not given a job and, to get your foot through the door because of your reputation. So I think they both are powerful and hold a lot of weight.
And I say, and I don't, I'm not saying that reputation is not important or valuable. The one thing it isn't is in your control. Like you said, a lie can destroy your reputation overnight. and it could just be because people wanted to believe it, and it's like attempting to be in control of it and to force people to see you a certain way is what I'm saying to avoid. You don't, and if you're a person of good character, that's really the only impact you have on your reputation is what you actually do. What people are going to say and come up with, again, outside of your control, and spending your time trying to chase it down or disprove it. Growing up, I think one of the things my mom told me is like when somebody says something about you that you don't like, you really only have two options. You could either change it so that they can't say that anymore, and they'll usually find something else to talk about, or you could just not let it get to you. Uh, but that's the truth of it. Like the people who aren't going to like you most of the time are just not going to like you. The people who are going to think negatively about you are going to find something negative to think about you, no matter what you do. So when I say that, I just say spending time worrying about it or trying to control it or trying to, you know, force a certain image of yourself on a person, I think it's futile, and it only leads to disappointment and heartbreak and resentment and things like that. If you just focus on who you are, your reputation should take care of itself. But people are gonna lie.
This is absolutely true. So it's kind of like that whole, sticks and stones might break my bones, but words will never hurt me, which we all know is a complete lie. If someone is trying to destroy you, if your career or your ability to raise your kids or whatever is being attacked because someone wanted to tarnish and ruin your reputation, we have horrible people on this planet, people who are jealous and envious and just hateful people. What would you say to a person who is telling you, I have to fight for my reputation because my job is on the line. I have to fight for my reputation because I used to be an addict and now my ex-husband's new girlfriend hates me and wants to try to get custody of my kids. So she's saying that I'm using again. There are some things you cannot stand idly by for. Your character means a lot for the people who know you, but the judge doesn't know you. And the way that they want to, pull you in and out of court, you can drop and test clean. But sometimes an accusation is all you need. Sometimes the job goes, yo, I understand that you were completely vindicated or exonerated or whatever, but because people know your face and it's attached to this, we can't be a part of this. So how do you explain that? I would think that that is why people go so hard for their reputation. Because sometimes in this day and age, your reputation actually means more than your character. Because look at Trump and look at Kamala Harris, the two people that we have running right now. You could look at their moral character or moral fiber and not think that you see much on either person. I don't want to pick a side because I ain't trying to make nobody mad. But their reputation is what people are voting for them off of, not their character, because we don't really know them personally. So how do you explain to the youth, because this is where I see this happening, they care so much about their reputation that they shouldn't?
Like I said, once again, it's out of your control. All that energy that you pour into it, into building this rep, that once again, if you poured that energy into being that person, you wouldn't also have to pour it into building that rep, because in being that person, you will build a reputation. But if you're focused on building this reputation, it just, like you said, it can take an accusation, something completely outside of your control. And when I say like value your character over your reputation, I'm not saying if somebody lies on you in court, you just say, oh, if you choose to believe that, Your Honor, that's on you. No, I'm not. Yes, I stand up for you. So like this, that's a super harsh extreme. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that your reputation is not important. But what matters the most is who you actually are. If you are doing more to solidify how people see you and you are not that person, whatever you gain from that is hollow, because you're not that person.
But I'm speaking more to the people who are that person. So you have great character. You have a great moral fiber. You're a great person, great character, right?
Yeah.
And your reputation is the same. So this is not a situation where you're not that person. You are your reputation, you are your character. Someone comes for your reputation. That hurts. I'll harken back to, on another show I talked about this guy who only dated white women and ended up getting walked out of our school in handcuffs because one girl made an accusation against him, or two, or whatnot. And this same guy, mind you, when we were younger in school, told people that he took my virginity. Now, that was my reputation around the school. People knew I was not sleeping. I wanted to wait till I got married. That was like when I was not sleeping with anyone in high school. And when he said that, it was my male friends that came and was like, yo, this cornball was in the weight room saying this, this, and this. And we know better. And we also know how you gonna react. So we're coming to tell you. Like, they wanted to see the fight, the epic battle that was gonna happen, because I was gonna cuss this dude for filth and yock him in his mouth. And I'll never forget how after I was, done being mad at him, the little altercation happened, and all my boys were standing behind me, wishing he would do something. He had to apologize to me in front of everybody for lying the way that he did. I felt so good when everything died down. And I looked at my people and I was like, yo, they could have enjoyed that conversation in the weight room, spread that rumor all across the school like it was fact. And it could have just been horrible. And I would have been the type of person who'd have spent the rest of my time, however long I was still in school, making sure people didn't, knew that didn't happen. Like, it mattered to me because I wore that V, baby, proudly on my chest.
Right. So let me
I
let
don't
me
care
let
what
me
everybody else is doing and what you got going on. I'm not. And so
let
it
me use
felt good to know that my character carried my reputation.
exactly. Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, you built that reputation based off of who you were. And so when people heard something that didn't jive with who they knew you to be, they say something to you about it. Like, your character will take care of your reputation. If you're focusing on your reputation, then your reputation is not going to take care of your character. Yeah, protect your reputation, but it can't be your priority. You can't be so concerned with what everybody thinks of you that you're working so hard to change their opinion of you, or you're working so hard to make sure you control what their opinion of you, or nobody can have a negative opinion of you, or nobody can believe something that's not true about you. There are going to be people out there to do it, and that can't move you one way or another if you know who you are. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I feel it. I just think that we're in a place right now where sometimes the public can ruin that for you.
I mean, sometimes you don't have to live that life. I mean, there are people who have had to live that life where people, the world thought one thing about them, but that wasn't who they were. And you can't. Sometimes you can't fight the world, and you don't answer to the world. Sometimes it's unfortunate. Not every life. In life there are going to be hardships and there are going to be trials and tribulations and struggles, and sometimes they're unfortunate. There's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no lottery. You didn't get chosen today to bear a burden. It's just what it is. But at the end of the day, we all have to answer to somebody.
I wish that we had a better answer than this. I feel like there's something I want to tap into, there's something I want to say, but I don't know how to. And this subject is important to me because I know there are a lot of kids. There are a lot of kids in school who are taking a permanent sleep because of their reputation, because of what people have said and spread about them across social media, what they have been bullied behind it. They are great people, great kids, and their reputation supersedes their character because people don't take the time to get to know them, to see and experience their character for themselves, and these babies take themselves out. And adults too, young adults, and maybe people of all ages. But this is very serious because when we think about this, and it seems like, okay, your character should be the most important thing. It really should. But in this day and age, because of the climate, because of social media, reputation usually supersedes it all, because people don't have, everybody doesn't have access to you to get to experience your character. But if somebody popular enough with enough followers says something about you, you have a problem with Jaguar right now. But there are enough people who are listening to her to where people believe her, and people are going with it and reposting and reposting. And now I'm not saying if it's right or wrong. If she's telling the truth, she's getting the word out. If something she's saying isn't true, she's getting the word out, and people are making their minds up. They're gonna stop supporting, stop shopping, stop purchasing, stop doing a lot of things for people because of what someone
And what,
because of what someone said.
what I am saying is, you know, if there are monetary damages that are going to come with these things, and there's some stuff that you got to fight and stuff like that. What I'm saying is that if you place that much value on how other people see you, I understand that there's injury that can come. There's injury that can come from a bad reputation, But if you place that much value in what other people think about you, you're placing your value in something very fragile and very outside of your control. And that's, what I'm saying is harden yourself and put your value in who you are. Because if you place it in what people think of you, and I'm not saying this is easy, but if you place it in what people think of you, you're at the whim of those people. And however they move is going to move you. That's going to take you to go do this horrific thing that you shouldn't do, because that it meant more to you what they thought about you than who you actually were. Sometimes we're going to have to, especially now, because I think a lot of things that people consider to be core beliefs are under attack. You're going to have to figure out who you are, and you're going to have to stand in it. And you're going to have to stand in it no matter what somebody says about you, no matter how your neighbor thinks about you, no matter how your coworker thinks about you. You're going to have to choose what it is you believe and who you are and what are your values and your virtues. And they're going to have to be important enough to you that the rest of the world doesn't matter, because stuff is going to be under attack. So that's all I'm saying. If we place our value in those places, it's fragile, and you can't control it. And so these kind of things will happen. People will Evil is going to exist. People want to say mean things about you.
And that's what I was looking for. That's exactly the answer I was looking for. Yes. That explains it in a way that I think even a teenager can understand. That was beautifully put. And so, another question that I had that I wanted to roll into this conversation was, how do you overcome toxicity? I think a lot of times when we're talking about bullying, like we were just, talking about here, I think sometimes we are so inundated with very bad things. There are a lot of people in this world who don't have family members, don't have friends. Some people handle it well, but that's a lonely life. And a lot of people choose that avenue because they don't like the toxicity that's going on in the world right now. If you turn on your social media, I know you have your algorithm perfectly flexed, so we're not talking about you, of course. However, but a lot of times you could just be scrolling and everything is so mean, and it may not be towards you at all, but it's very hard to carry all of the negativity. The politics are negative. Sometimes the movie critics are negative. The people who judge what you wore to the awards, like, it's just a bunch of people talking about people all the time, and it weighs you down. Depression's at an all-time high, anxiety's at an all-time high. When you are someone living in this world, whether the attack is immediately towards you or it's just something that you're seeing in general, what kind of advice could you give to a person who just feels like it's too overwhelming and I can't find the happiness?
Let me just say this first. My Facebook is all kumbaya, but my Twitter is just ass and titties. Just like I tune both algorithms. I got it worked out. But
Wow. Well, that's good to know.
I guess what I would say to that is, oh, my bad. One more time with the question. I got so lost in my joke, I forgot what you asked.
That's what you get for being disgusting. That's exactly what you get. But no, my advice, I'm asking you, what advice would you give to people who feel like it's just toxic everywhere? They can't find the happiness and they feel really weighed down with all the negativity in the world.
You have to search for it. You have to search for the good sometimes, like it's there. Like I talk to people about, like, if you lose something and you never left the bed, it got to be in this bed. The way you gonna tear up that bed until you find it is different than when you just think it's there. You got to believe that there's good in this world and go search for it like you know it's there. Don't stop until you find it. And I promise you, you will find it. And it's really everywhere. You know, there are beautiful moments every day. You know, sometimes you can find, beauty in waking up. These are cliche things, but I do stuff like this with people. I do, gratitude lists, and I just every day give me 5 things that you're grateful for, and you'll be amazed at how just spending 30 seconds focusing on 5 things that you're grateful for, and they can be superficial, like AC in the summer or the coffee that you just got, but whatever it is, 5 things in your life that you are grateful for in that moment. And you'll be amazed at how when you start just spending that little bit of time identifying those things, you'll see more. You'll get in touch with more. You'll the good is there. It's just sometimes, we can't see the forest for the trees.
I agree. I would add to that too that you have to be making decisions for yourself. I think far too often, especially if we're going to speak specifically to family, I've had to explain to way too many people why I don't talk to 95% of my family members. I have a lot of toxic, negative, dysfunctional, just people I don't need in my life. And my therapist was the first person to give me permission to make the decision and not feel guilty, because a lot of my family is, oh, that's just how she is. She's always been that way. That's how he is. He's always been that way. And wanting to sweep things under the rug and tell people who are victimized and abused emotionally, physically, and mentally that they just have to deal with that person because they're blood related or they're a parent. I think you have to understand the power that you have in your life. This life is very short. Even if you live to be 100 years old, I think in the span of eternity, whatever happens after this, if you believe in heaven and hell, if you believe in reincarnation, this life is short relative to an entire infinite, stream of whatever happens. So while you're here, make the best of it if you can. And I think that means taking ownership of your care. I think far too often we're looking for other people to care for us and make the best decisions for us, even into adulthood. You want your grandmother or your parents to still help you, or you want your significant other, your spouse, to make those decisions for you. We cower when it comes to making hard decisions. It's always easier just to tell somebody else, hey, you tell me what to do. And sometimes people don't know what you need and don't know what's best for you. So if there's a person that's toxic, a job that's toxic, a landlord, a housing apartment complex, wherever it is that you don't feel safe, that brings you constant stress or depression or anything that isn't good for you, work and strive to remove that person from your life, that place, that thing from your life. You have to take care of you. Nobody's going to take care of you as good as you take care of you, outside of when you're a kid and your parents are taking care of you, because hopefully you have good parents. But I really do think we need to learn how to take ownership of us. Even going back to the character versus reputation situation, you got to hunker down. You have to remove yourself from situations and defeat some situations. If you can sue somebody for libel or slander, defamation, or anything like that, do it. If you are around a bunch of people who just like making your life miserable, maybe you leave that school, that job, that city, and go somewhere and make the best of your life, because you have the right to do so. But even with us talking about this, Flan, I honestly know that it's so much easier to say that when you've put in the work, you've done the therapy, you made it to your 40s, you're independent, you make your own money, got your career, got your kids, got your family, got your this, yet. And these kids are looking at us like, you don't get it. Like we've never been there before. Like we could never have, gone through what they've gone through because of where we are now. And I almost wish that there was a way for us to make that connection with them, for them to understand, baby, it wasn't always like this for us.
Yeah, and it's not always like that for me now. Like none of this stuff. Just because something is difficult was never a good enough reason not to do it. So when I say these things, I understand that they're very difficult, and I fail on them often. I have I have calendar appointments in my calendar to go off every morning. to remind me to do a certain thing. Some mornings I do it, some mornings I don't. But you know, whenever I fall off the wagon, I can get right back on. Like knowing what you should be doing, knowing the right thing to do, is step number one. You don't Nobody's asking for perfection, but progress, you know. When you have a moment to do the right thing, when you find yourself in a position to do the right thing, every once in a while do it. And then maybe you can chain a couple of them together, but nobody's asking for perfection. None of this is gonna I don't do it. I fail at this stuff all the time. I fail at the things, I tell my girl I'm gonna do. When if I ever say anything to you and it sound crazy, just know that that's not what I meant. And I'm gonna do the same thing for you. And then she say something to sound crazy, and I'm like, you know, we'll figure out what you meant when I finish this rant. Like, it's just so none of this stuff is progress, not perfection. You don't have to look at it like I gotta be perfect every day. Just when you get a moment and you think about it, try to do it the right way every once in a while.
Can you give, for anyone who's out there going through this who doesn't know how to manage the care and concern in between character versus reputation or overcoming toxicity, can you give an example of a time that you had your character or your reputation attacked, or that you had to overcome toxicity, just as an example, and how you overcame it or how you dealt with it?
Um, I had help. I had help. I think as you know, I'm in recovery. And I do the 12 steps, and one of the steps is making amends. And I remember being in the program and being very excited about getting to the amends because I wanted to make all of these amends to my ex-wife. I wanted to clear up some stuff, things that she thought I did, and I wanted to go ahead and have this come to Jesus, sit down conversation, and because I wanted to clear up my name. And my sponsor at the time just had to tell me this, you know, you need to worry about who you are. Like show her that you're different by being different. Your words mean nothing anymore. Like go be this thing and allow people to see you that way. And I was because I wanted to fix it right then and there. I wanted to have some control over how people saw me. But the best way I could control how people saw me, and it's not no form of control whatsoever, was to just be different. That's the most impact you can have on your reputation and the way people see you is to be the thing. Um, so I know
And that takes time.
that takes time.
And you have to be patient, because
Hey,
what I think a lot of people don't understand is when you've hurt someone or you've lost their trust, you've betrayed them, any of those things, it takes a while for them to recover, for them to heal, especially if they're not putting the work in. If they just want to be mad at you, they're not trying to forgive you, it's going to take even longer. But sometimes you got to understand, you don't know how much damage you did to them, and you can't put a time limit on how long it's going to take them to get over it. If it took you 10 years to damage them to the point to where they just don't believe in you anymore, it might take you 20 or 30 for them to get back there, and you just got to wait it out if you care enough.
and that's another good example of when character really matters the most. Is that if you've messed up and you're trying to repair a bad reputation, you're going to go through a period where you're being a different person and people still see you the way they used to see you, where your reputation hasn't changed. And if you were only making the changes because you wanted your reputation to change, then you'll feel defeated and you might quit. You got to be doing it because you want to be different and then eventually get that result. But a lot of times you change and it doesn't change the way people see you. It doesn't change the way people treat you. You're still going to be the same person in their eyes. So what matters, that you're different or that they see you different? Like one's got to be more important.
And I'll give an example from my point of view of what you're talking about now. And this is kind of dark, but I used to be in an abusive relationship, and once I got out, and the judge made him go to anger management, and he did his little, how many ever classes. He came back to me and asked if we could get back together. And what I explained to him was, you should go and find a woman who doesn't know the monster that I know you to be. Once you have done the physical damage, mental and emotional damage that you've done to me, these classes don't make me feel safe that you won't do it again. Anytime you get mad or slam something down, I am going to have a PTSD moment. The trauma will be triggered, and I just don't want to live in fear like that. So sometimes you could put the work, and by the way, he didn't change, and I knew that, and I was right. But anyway, I'm just saying sometimes as a person, you may put the work in and you may change. You may, stop doing drugs or stop drinking or go to anger management and some serious therapy and stop becoming physically violent with your significant others. But the ones who already know that about you and the ones who've already been through that with you still have those memories, those fears, those triggers, that trauma. So if you want a better life and you want people to look at you differently, go find people who didn't get a chance to see you at what you once were. Start fresh. And then you don't have to worry about somebody always looking at you that way, expecting the worst of you to rear its ugly head sooner than later. I hope this
Yeah.
conversation helps some people. I think a lot of time in this world, and we talk about this on other podcasts. We talk about this in our conversations. The world is dark right now, and there is a lot that you can fall into and read about and study about, and it become very depressing. You have to remember to keep the joy there, the happiness there. You have to remember, like Flan was saying, I don't care if you're just saying, hey, I'm glad I woke up today. I'm glad, for my health. I'm glad for my Heavenly Father who watches over me, loosing forth my ministering angels to encamp about and around me to protect me from any and all danger that tries to come my way. Hey, I almost said a prayer right there on y'all. But I'm happy for my kids, their health, my grandmother, my grandfather, whoever you have. A gratitude list would be great to do every day. 5 things is a good number, and it could be the most mundane thing. I'm glad the water came out of the water machine cold today. Heck, I'm
Yeah.
glad they bought the refills for the soda machine. I mean, for the water machine,
Wasn't
so
no
that I could
traffic on
have
the
water.
highway today. Something, just
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, absolutely. I know I don't do enough of that at all. When
I
things
tell you,
get
most.
dark, I tend to focus more, and I almost just fall for it and just seek it out. And Lord knows when you start talking about stuff, your phone's always listening. The algorithm pours it on thick. So you didn't seen one video about the hurricane and how it's ripping through everybody's houses. Now you done watch 25. You're crying. People, dogs run, floating down the river, roofs. Ain't nothing happening where you live. And you just as distraught as you're going through it. And it's okay to feel and sympathize and empathize with people, but don't drown yourself in it. It's too easy to do and it feels too comfortable, unfortunately, especially if you've ever suffered from depression.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always something to be grateful for if you look for it.
Yeah, as long as you still above ground, as long as you're not 6 feet under, you can try to
Okay.
make it better, live another day, make new memories, try again.
I used to try to call my sponsor to complain about stuff, and I get a quarter of a sentence in. Like, did you eat today? Are you hot? Are you cold? You got a place to stay? You got some money in your pocket? You got friends you could talk to? I'm guessing that's a yes because you're talking to me. I'm like, yeah, so she's like, yeah, so in this moment, you got everything you need. You're good. What did you call me to complain about?
I love that. I love that. So, yeah, there's hope and there's always light at the end of the tunnel and all those other cliche things that we say these days. Anything else you want to say to the people?
Uh, I don't know. Be easy, be light. Some, I haven't done my show in so long. I don't remember none of that stuff. I was trying to practice it real quick.
Well, thanks for listening, you guys. We hope this helps. If you know anybody who needs to listen to this, to hear this, to understand that they have the power within themselves to protect themselves, build themselves up, and it's going to be okay. It is going to be okay. Let them listen to this. Share this with them. Like it, share it, subscribe, leave a comment. We're on YouTube and all streaming platforms and all that good jazz. Until next week, when you hear us again, be sure to be good to yourself and be kind to others. Holla.
Um,